Welcome to the Morning After Show. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Ryan Hensley. Very interesting time for the 49ers. They're on a 5-game winning streak. They have the best defense in football. They just beat a playoff team by 16 points, and they're down to their third-string quarterback. They did it with their third-string quarterback. So on the one hand, you're thinking, man, this team is so impressive. On the other hand, you're thinking, did their season just fall apart? I'm thinking, no. Look what they just did yesterday against a playoff team. This is a team that should still be held to the highest standard. They should be looking to find a way to win the Super Bowl because they have an elite roster and the rest of the league is wide freaking open. So as honorary quality control, Ryan and I will comb through all the 49ers options at quarterback and make sure the 49ers are going with the best option, because if they're not, they won't win the Super Bowl. And they have to this year. They absolutely have to. Ryan, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for coming on this morning, Grant. Glad to be here. There's so many things to talk about. We could probably do a 5-hour show and not run out of things to talk about. But
let's see if we can do it in an hour. I don't think we can.
Let's do it.
But we'll try.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to start with what the Niners actually did. Jimmy Garoppolo breaks his foot. By the end of the night, the 49ers signed Josh Johnson, who I think it's his 4th time on the 49ers. He was here with Harbaugh. He was here a couple of years ago with Kyle Shanahan. He was in New York with Robert Saleh and the Jet. He knows the system. He knows the verbiage. He was a 5th-round pick under John Gruden. Mm-hmm. Last year, he played in 2 games. One, he played with the Jets. He went 27-41 for 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, and a 103 rating. Then he lost, but still they put up 30 points. And then with Baltimore, he started 28-40 for 304 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, and a 98 rating. Lost, but still those are pretty good numbers. What do you think of the Niners signing Josh Johnson?
I think it's great, man. I'm actually friends with his cousin. His cousin's a basketball coach. I know him pretty well. Nice. So I've seen Josh Johnson in the building and stuff like that. But anyways, he's been a lifelong, kind of a guy that just gets, flipped around from team to team, but he's always pretty solid. I think he's a really solid backup quarterback. He has a ton of experience under a ton of different systems. Mm-hmm. Smart guy, local,
good athlete
from Oakland.
Good athlete.
Good athlete. I think it's great. He was one of the guys I was hoping they would have signed as a backup for Trey Lance to begin with. So I think it's good. I'm excited about having Josh Johnson as a possible option if he's needed.
Yeah, he's a really cool story. I don't know if people in Oakland know because he was a local legend. He played at Oakland Tech with Marshawn Lynch. Yeah. He's been around for a long time, and he went to the University of San Diego, and he was Jim Harbaugh's coach. Back when Harbaugh was getting started as a head coach, he was winning hella games with Josh Johnson. John Gruden noticed, took him in the 5th round, and he's never really gotten a shot to start. He's 1-8 as a starter. But last year he had some good appearances, and I think Geno Smith comes to mind. Because that's another guy who, good athlete, never, had a chance but didn't really get an extended chance and stuck with it. Clearly stuck in the league. Coaches liked him. There's a reason, and got a chance and is good. So I don't know if Josh Johnson could do that, but he kind of needs to if he has to play, because, again, this is Super Bowl or bust for the 49ers. And it's not just we need a nice quarterback for the practice squad. We need a guy who could potentially win playoff games.
Yep.
And, Josh Johnson's a good story. He's 36.
Yeah.
He's never started a playoff game. So I know he's here because he knows the system, and he had a couple good appearances last year, which probably puts him ahead of most people in the world that isn't on a roster. But I don't know that this is enough.
We'll find out. But, I think with his experience at 36 years old, he's really, he's a vet. And he's never – maybe I'm wrong, but in 36 years or however long he's been in the NFL, I'm imagining 12 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Has he ever been in a situation like this where he's had this strong of a roster, this many weapons headed into the playoffs?
No.
I don't think he has, right? So this could be really big for Josh Johnson. I don't know if he's going to end up being the guy that plays in the playoffs for the 49ers, but I think he is definitely great to have in this quarterback room, considering all things.
Great backup to have, but I'm just trying to pull back, and I'm not saying anything about Purdy, that he's injury prone or this or that, but look at the Niners. They can't keep their quarterbacks healthy. They go through them. Mm-hmm. And Purdy got sacked a few times. Their offensive line isn't great. The Niners have to be prepared for Purdy to either get injured and miss time or potentially not be that great. We don't know anything about Brock Purdy. So whoever this backup is someone the Niners have to feel like, hey, well, we got to feel confident if he has to start a playoff game. Because, again, there's no one's going to say, hey, the Niners were a really good story this year, but, like, injuries happen. No. Best defense in the league, all these weapons. Figure it out. So, Josh Johnson, nice, but I don't know if the Niners are done or should be.
I don't think they are. I think there's some other options that are going to appear. I would be surprised. I give Josh Johnson a 20% chance of playing in the playoffs for the 49ers, if that. So, but I think he's a good option. I'm glad that the 49ers signed him. I think there's other things that might transpire that, and we'll talk about that more. But I think it's a good solid backup to have on this team.
Yeah, and if Geno Smith can pull it off, maybe Josh Johnson could too. Again, he played well last year in 2 starts. Anyone else? You say like. Anyone else you would think of would either be like 40 years old or hasn't played in 5 years. So,
yes,
give Josh Johnson credit. Corey Soto says, call me a CT. I don't know what a CT is, but I still don't fully believe the Niners are looking into activating Lance. We'll see in 2-3 weeks. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward
Promise.
to that. Yeah.
Young K. True says, praying the defense isn't getting lucky with missed throws and drops. It seems like Jimmy versus Brady is never meant to happen. That was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking forward to that. But, it's unfortunate about Jimmy, man. Shout out to Jimmy. I don't know if he'll be back, and I know we'll talk about it, but, yeah, that's unfortunate. Sorry to see him go out like that.
Yeah, I still think that if the Niners were to play Kansas City, Buffalo, or Philly, those are teams that could score more than 20 points against their defense. I'm not saying 30.
Dallas.
Maybe Dallas. Those are teams that could score more than 20 points against the Niners defense. So do the Niners have a quarterback that can lead this offense to 24 points in the playoffs? Not sure. We'll find out. Young K. True, we got you. Hold on. Didn't we? Yeah. Jaskell says, I wanted Purdy over Jimmy G early on. Sorry, Jimmy had to get hurt. That sucks, but bring on Brock. It does suck. And bring on Brock. Jacob Mayhew says, Ryan, come on now. Josh Johnson ain't winning nothing.
I'm not saying he will, but this is the best situation that he's probably ever been in his career.
That is true. That is true. And you can say that probably for most quarterbacks. Hey, you want to win a Super Bowl and you're not employed? Maybe you want to come play with the best defense in the league. Ivan says, Tua was our best DB by missing all those throws. Also, Flave and Remilio are probably sobbing and consoling each other somewhere right now. Poor guys. Tua was freaked. He really seemed like that. He looked small out there. He really looked small.
Yeah, he looked shook. I think he looked at his offensive line before that game and remembers those highlights from Nick Bosa and was like, it was over before.
He was shook. And there is a universal truth that there ain't no such thing as halfway crooks. So he just wasn't going to get it done.
Right.
I went to a bar in Atlanta called Halfway Crooks, which I thought was kind of cute. Joseph says, bought ticks for this weekend. The Purdy Brady dynamic. Hey, man. Nice. Did the ticket value go down with Purdy in or what?
Wow. What if Purdy beats Tom Brady? That's crazy.
There's rumors about Matt Ryan requesting a release. Well, it hasn't happened yet.
Ooh,
we're going to talk about all options today. That would be interesting. Niners fan 99. Thank you. All right, moving on. The Carolina Panthers waived Baker Mayfield this morning. Statistically, in terms of ESPN QBR, he's having the worst season ever since they started making the statistics, second only to, I think Jamarcus Russell had a worse stint. Although he's played all right in the past, he was the number 1 pick. He's won a playoff game. He operated in a system that's an offshoot of what the Niners are running. Do you think the Niners should put in a waiver claim if he's available when they're up at spot 25?
I've never been a big Baker Mayfield fan at all. I think he's going to be kind of toxic for the locker room.
What is it about him? Can you explain that? Because people always like, well, I don't know if he's going to fit this locker room. I just know he makes terrible commercials, but what is it about his personality?
Yeah, he's always. I really don't know what it is, but what I do know is his teammates have.
He's the anti-Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, a lot of his teammates have come out to speak against him on both teams. Yeah. So whatever he's doing, his teammates don't like. And this team, one thing about the 49ers that they do a good job at, for better or worse, is bringing really good teammates and good guys around. And when I say for better or worse, sometimes that's, I think they may miss out on a good player or two because of that. But, I think locker room dynamics is very important. And so I'm not sure about Baker Mayfield. What I do know is he's pretty cheap. He'll be like $1.4 million. I asked Swan Song. He's been coming through big on this data, but $1.4 million if they sign him. But something that I'm starting to think now is that I would think some NFC playoff team is going to snatch him off waivers before the 49ers get an opportunity. Somebody like Seattle. So I don't even know if we get an opportunity.
Or the Rams.
Yeah, or somebody. Yeah, just to be spiteful, So we'll see about that.
Yeah, I mean, this is another guy that you could say, say what you want about him. He has having a terrible year. It was Carolina. You put him on this team, it would be the best team he's ever been on. And he has a better arm than Brock Purdy. He was the number 1 pick. And Kyle Shanahan is on record saying all kind of nice stuff about Baker Mayfield a few years ago. I don't think he'll last. But if he does, because teams don't want to, whatever, he's toxic, or teams that aren't in contention don't need him. Dude, how can you say no? Oh, because you have Brock Purdy and Josh Johnson. Nothing against those two, but Brock Purdy has never started a game, and Josh Johnson has started 9 and won 1. So why not add a third guy to the room and see what you got? I mean, you really have nothing to lose. Frankly, you also go through quarterbacks anyway. Like any team that gets Baker needs to give him a month to learn their system anyway. So he's not going to play right away. You bring him here, and he's just sitting on the $1.3 million to get him ready and play if necessary. Because ideally, Brock Purdy wins a Super Bowl. End of story. He just keeps the job and wins the Super Bowl. But if that doesn't happen, you have options other than Josh Johnson.
Yeah, and I think everyone needs to remember and keep this in mind that Jimmy Garoppolo was elevated by this team. His play was elevated by this team and his defense. Josh Johnson's going to be. Brock Purdy's has been. Baker Mayfield. All these guys that you're judging.
Nick Mullins.
Right. Make sure you're judging them based on what teams they played on and what team this is. It's going to be better for them. It's going to be easier for them. They're not going to be asked to do a lot. So really, a lot of these guys will end up being just as serviceable as Brock Purdy, in my opinion.
Bettina, I hope we answered your question. Flave comes through with his daily Trey Lance hate, saying Niners Super Bowl odds went way down last night. Still not as low as they were with Trey. That sounds like misinformation. So we're still better off than we were in preseason. I'm doing okay. I'm sure this is Flave being tongue-in-cheek. We're going to talk about Flave and other Jimmy Garoppolo fans and their disdain for Trey Lance in just a minute. But thank you, Flave. It's always good to see you. The Super Bowl odds thing, that's funny. Jimmy Garoppolo fans love that stat because it matters. What Vegas thinks. Yeah. Stingray says, you didn't specify TL activation now or at all.
I think we're going to be talking about that coming up.
Next. Yeah. SoCal Niner says, the Trey injury I put on Kyle, but Jimmy knows better than to fight through a sack like that. Well, who got beat, though? McGlinchey? Was it Jalen Phillips? Who? Yeah.
I think it was
McGlinchey. Wasn't that bound to happen? I'm sorry. Niners fan 99 says, has anyone checked on McGlinchey recently? It's always hard for someone's significant other to be in the hospital. Man, that's just such a low blow. And yet, Dark Halo 2 times says the Niners can pick up Baker and still roll with Purdy. Yeah, and Josh Johnson. You can have 3 quarterbacks on the active roster. It's literally the only position holding you back. I think you could do it. Also, you could afford it.
Yes.
Baker was trash in Cleveland with Chubb in their line. Was he trash? At times he was. I can't vouch for Baker.
He was injured that season where he was pretty bad. Before that injury, he was actually pretty good.
He won a playoff game. Who else can the Niners get? All right, so let's talk about Trey Lance. Mm-hmm. Kyle Shanahan's all over the place with this. He keeps getting asked questions about Trey Lance, and he keeps sort of giving different answers, which is unfortunate. But Tim Kawakami, I guess, got him one-on-one or pinned him down, metaphorically speaking, and asked him the question. Here's what Tim Kawakami tweeted 3 hours ago. I asked Shanahan if, after Garoppolo's injury, there was any way Trey Lance could make it back by the playoffs. Quote, from what I've been told, no, Shanahan said. He's not physically able to. If he could, hell yeah. But right now, I've been told no on that. Then Kawakami tweets, my interpretation is that the door is not all the way closed. It's a fair way to talk about a severe early season injury. You rule him out because it's likely he can't come back. But everybody's recovery timetables are different, so they wait and see. How do you interpret that?
That's different from what has been said at all to this point. That's a big difference, right? A lot of people said, Kyle Shanahan said, no, absolutely not. That's not the case. What this tells you is that really it comes down to, is he medically able, physically able to do it? And if he is, Kyle Shanahan said, hell yeah.
Yeah.
You know Trey Lance is going to want to. You know that. And I've heard
I don't know anything. I would like to think that.
Well,
I would like to think that. Yeah.
True. You would assume that is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I would assume that. I would assume that too. I would assume that too.
I would assume he's going to want to come back to play, especially, given that it'll be the playoffs and has a chance for the Super Bowl.
This would be a great time for him to post hella videos on Instagram. Hey, I'm here. Look at me. Look at me throw. Look at me run. I'm just saying.
Right. I've heard through hearsay people that heard things that he is 100% wants to come back also.
Let's do it. Nice. Right. Beautiful. Because I hate to think that he's being like, hey, man, no, not till next year. Good.
Yes.
Good.
There's nothing in me, even if I didn't hear what I heard, there's nothing in me that thinks Trey Lance is that kind of guy anyways. He
Me neither.
Yeah.
Me neither. I like it. Okay, cool. Yeah, well, hey, if Trey Lance wants to come back and he gets medically cleared by week 16, boom.
Yeah.
They're going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean,
hey.
Trey wants to come back. Kyle Shanahan said, hell yeah, he would bring him back if he's able to. It's really only a matter now of, is he physically able to do it?
And we don't know. But what? There's another month. There's another month.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
And again, they don't need – ideally, Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl. Brock Purdy plays great, just is the franchise quarterback, and you never look back. But we don't know that Brock Purdy will still be on the field in 4 weeks. Nothing against him. Nothing against him at all. Yeah.
So, in my opinion, I think 49ers, based on what we know about 49ers, they'll keep Brock Purdy, obviously. They'll keep Josh Johnson, and they'll hope that Trey Lance is able to perform in the playoffs. I feel like that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Seems like that's what they do. They keep things, they want to roll with their draft picks in general over a Baker Mayfield. They probably would put in for Baker Mayfield, but I don't think it's going to even be an option. I really just have a feeling some other team's going to snatch him up.
Let's list all the reasons why Kyle is right to say what he's saying and downplay this as much as possible.
Sure.
It doesn't help Brock Purdy to all of a sudden be like, yeah, Trey's coming back. That's just a distraction. You're all in with Brock. You don't even freaking know what you can get with Trey. It's a hope.
Yeah.
But it's still something that he's not medically cleared yet, and you're hoping. It seems like the wrong message to send to your team. Hey, guys, maybe we'll get our savior. Maybe. No, we're with Brock. And if something falls apart and we have to go to I'm not going to say that, to, plan L, we could do it. Yeah. But
it also
let's not even talk about it until it's something. What do our parents say? Let's cross that bridge when we get to it. They're going to cross that bridge when we get to it. They get to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't help Trey Lance to apply that pressure. Yeah, we're hoping for Trey Lance hurries up and gets healthy so we can bring him back. I mean, that doesn't help him to say that out loud. No. So
if he was like 35-year-old Steve Young and he'd been to like multiple Pro Bowls and stuff, then yeah, absolutely you could say stuff like this. But still, he's started 4 games. And by the time you get there, I mean, Purdy could be more experienced than him in the NFL. So it's a difficult situation.
Considering Kyle Shanahan's history with RG3, it's also not a good look for him to be trying to push somebody back from injury. So it's good that he's taking the side of caution.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
A lot of this is optics. A lot of this is posturing. Anyway, if that's what he said, if he can come back, hell yeah, and that's how Tim Kawakami interpreted it, door's open. But again, they're just hoping they don't have to go there.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I'll say it. Sweet Meat Pete says Purdy has more experience than Lance. We're okay. Look, I liked the way Purdy was playing. I thought he could throw on the run. Hey, that's something new.
Yeah.
He could throw on the run. Wow.
He based on yesterday, he looked like a more mobile Jimmy Garoppolo. A little more
mobile Mullins, or
a little more ballsy as far as like what he's willing to throw. He threw in some tight windows. But I think with Purdy, that's it's really early. It's 1 game, so
he's better than Beathard. I don't know. Beathard never projected confidence on the football field. He always seemed like he was down to take a beating and he was tough, but he never really looked like he thought he was gonna win. I mean, he always had this look like, here I go. Hey, at least I'm in the NFL. But what do you want me to do? I'm CJ Beathard. And this guy kind of walks around like he's like, you don't know me. I'm Brock. I kind of like that.
I do like his attitude, and the locker room says he's very competitive and he has a swag about him. And so, I mean, he's fun. Yeah, and I think we're going to talk about Jimmy Moore's coming up.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about Brock too.
Okay.
Eddie Marco says, after yesterday's game, it's safe to say any quarterback can win under the Niners. Jimmy played his last game with the Niners. Yeah, they can't quit Jimmy Garoppolo, maybe. Lawless Light says, would you rather take Willis and Bowman or Greenlaw and Fred? Whew.
That's a tough one.
Man.
That is hard. I don't know if I could put myself on record saying that. It depends.
Willis, you could put Willis man-to-man on the best tight ends in the league, almost like Jimmy Ward. You could put him on Jimmy Graham, Tony Gonzalez, Gronkowski. You can't do that with Fred Warner, even though he's 6'3", but Fred Warner is the best, like, underneath middle zone defender ever. He's amazing. Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, maybe, I don't know. That's a tough one. I might go with the Willis one because I think Willis is the best linebacker I've ever seen, but I don't know.
Yeah, Patrick Willis is one of my favorite players from the 49ers in history, and also just people. He's a really good
runs
guy.
Harder. But Dre Greenlaw is like a little mini Patrick Willis, man, like a 5'11" Patrick Willis. He runs so hard, fast.
Greenlaw is underrated league-wide. Like, there's not enough talk up. There's a lot of talk about Fred Warner deservedly, but league-wide, Greenlaw is underrated, man. I think, does he still lead the team in tackles right now, even with missing one game?
There's this site called Sys Data Hub, which I don't know if they're any better than PFF, but they're free. And I don't have a PFF account. So I look at theirs, and they just happen to rank Dre Greenlaw, or at least last week they did, the number one linebacker in the entire league. And that's like with, with Micah Parsons in there. And so it was like, damn. So he's impressing someone, and I'm impressed when I watch him. It feels like it's really hard to outflank the Niners to the sideline around the edge because Greenlaw's going to get you. He'll chase you down. It's over.
Yeah, I mean, you saw that one where he got Hill on the sideline, chased him down to the sideline.
Pretty crazy. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that Bowman and Willis used to be able to do.
Yes.
I mean, remember, I think Bowman was doing that on Michael Vick 10 years ago. Bosa should get every penny, quarterback of the defense. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of pennies, yo. It's going to be hella pennies. But yeah, no, he's going to get it. Don't worry. I mean, the Niners have said it. They've been saying it. Sheldon says, can't we go get Breeze or Fitzy or even Kaepernick? That's going to be one of our topics. Bear with us. Eli says RG3 mentor for Lance. We need 3 quarterbacks with that O-line. Well, I think Josh Johnson is kind of in that mentor role at this point. And RG3 is a announcer.
What's the relationship between RG3 and Shanahan right now? Is it good?
I would imagine there's no relationship between them, and they probably say nice things about each other in public because it suits themselves. It's my guess. Are you kidding?
I haven't heard anything about that. He doesn't really RG3 to his credit, he doesn't really come out and speak about that whole situation.
No. Devin Smith says, did you see how BP called T.O. without getting Kyle Shanahan permission? Oh, yeah, he did. Purdy. He can obviously think for himself and will be fine. He has balls, according to Debo. Kyle Shanahan said the same thing. That
pass to Kittle, I think that's the one they're talking about. He called a audible for Kittle on his route, and he got the ball out in 1.67 seconds, which is the 6th fastest release on the season. That was a big time play, and those plays like that are like make me kind of excited about Brock Purdy.
Jay Good says, "F with your support." He messes with my support for Trey. Def a Trey fan. I just think the guy deserves a chance. Doesn't Purdy fit West Coast offense better than Trey? It's not a West Coast offense, but yeah, I guess he would. But he's a backup quarterback. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what he does. Jeffrey says Purdy an extender, disciplined and impromptu quarterback. An extender. He is a bit of an extender. I like that. He ran into a couple sacks, I hope he stays healthy. Don't extend too much. You're not that kind of an athlete in the NFL.
He's a playmaker. He's definitely more risky than Jimmy is, which could be good and could be bad.
Polly says the only reason the Niners won was because Tua sold. He overthrew so many open receivers. Any other playoff team's quarterback won't miss those throws. Yeah, I wasn't really impressed with Tua. He looked like a small quarterback who's had injury issues and looked at that D-line and his O-line and was like, not today. Today.
Yeah, the 49ers
living to see another day. Sorry.
The 49ers defense, man, their front seven is the best in the NFL without question. Charvarius Ward is really good.
So is Talanoa.
Yeah, Huff is really good at keeping things in front of him. Where I think the 49ers have any weakness is Gibson and Huff in coverage with their back turn, and maybe Lenore a little bit, because if we're being honest, that there were a lot of open receivers yesterday.
Lenore just plays super. I mean, what he does is he's not going to get beaten deep. So you can just run like comeback routes at him all day, and they tried to. It's just that Tua missed. He was throwing one hoppers. He was throwing over the guys. It was like, oh, man. And that's fine. Great. That's what a good pass rush does. It intimidates you. It makes you look bad. But I don't think it's going to do that to Josh Allen if they have to face him. But, I mean, there's no guarantee they're even making it to the Super Bowl anyway. They got to get through the freaking – let's talk Dak Prescott, right, and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Corey says, when will Lance be eligible for a medical eval and clearance?
Whenever he's clear. Whenever he's eligible. Yeah.
I don't know. We don't know, but I would think soon. AmTodd99 says, random question. McDaniels and Kyle are awkward as AF talking about injuries. All coaches are. Why not have a medical professional available to the media once a week without giving up too much information?
It's really a PR thing.
The trainer should come through, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's really like there's a message that the team wants to
That's true.
Put out there that has nothing to do with the actual facts of the situation.
That's a good point. They're not actually trying to tell us about the injuries. And if you notice, they don't let you talk to the position coaches. Like Brian Griese isn't talking to the media. They want to have one message. So it's the head coach and his coordinators and the quarterback. Right. And it's like, oh, you want to talk to Brian Griese? Yeah, we'll arrange that one time in training camp, and that's that. Get to know him.
It benefits the team to be vague when it comes to injuries. So they're not trying to give you guys details as much as we might want them.
Nick Brown, thank you. That's why when someone like Christian McCaffrey has knee irritation, I'm like, well, that could mean anything. It could be knee irritation. It could be like a torn ACL, MCL. Like, no, it wouldn't be that because Schefter would. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't trust the team. You'll find out when he's on the field or not.
That's what drives me crazy with all these people when you talk about whether Trey Lance is going to come back or not. They're like, well, Kyle Shanahan said no. He said no. Like, you guys
not under oath.
So, people are so gullible sometimes. Like,
yeah. Nicolo Credit says, my grandma could win a Super Bowl with this roster. Purdy can't play worse than Jimmy G has in the playoffs. 5-yard ding and dunks plus Bosa equals playoff running coming.
We should sign.
Yeah, but is signer. Adam says Niners will bring back Sudfeld to win the Super Bowl. Oh, man, can you imagine if this season came down to Sudfeld? Oh. Trey doesn't have the confidence attitude like RP. RP?
Who's RP?
BP. Trey doesn't have this. Trey doesn't have that. Trey ain't this. I don't know, man. Swan Song says, C. Watson with 8 TDs leads all rookies in top 5 in NFL. I thought NDSU skill players wouldn't translate in the NFL. He didn't even have a training camp. Yeah, maybe he just needed like some time on the field. Blake Boyce. Purdy might be the chosen one. Trey ain't the savior. And we shouldn't rush him back if he's going to be our future, quote unquote. Why?
Grant, do you know? Yeah. Do you remember the
might be the chosen
Texans game? Trey Lance last year. Uh-huh. What was his QB rating in that game?
It was like in the second half. It was like 140. I don't think he missed.
Yeah. So it was better than Brock Purdy's game yesterday.
Brock Purdy's game was a special, nice little game against the worst road defense in the league. Let's see what he does the rest of the season. Might be the chosen one. Why? All great quarterbacks were late picks or UFAs, except for the ones who were first-round picks. Nick Brown says, I heard 2 names getting thrown around, Phillip Rivers or Ryan Fitzpatrick. Which one would you take? Whichever one is in like remotely football shape. Like these guys, I don't know. One guy's probably fishing. The other guy's an announcer. But it's an interesting question. We're going to bring that up. We're going to talk about the wide world of quarterbacks who are unemployed. Finesse Kid says the offense didn't miss a beat with Purdy with lots of exclamation points. That's true. Brandon Harrison said Cam Newton over Baker. Purdy starts while Cam gets up to speed. Need a legit backup who can run a system. And that Bosa doesn't hate. He has experience. All right, I think people want to talk about that. And then we'll talk about Jimmy Garoppolo in a minute. But I think people want to talk about the best quarterback currently not on a roster. I think this is an important question because the Niners, I think they want to just go out with Purdy and Josh Johnson. And if they win, be like, that's a great story. And if they lose, be like, what do you want from us? We lost our quarterback. Nah. I don't want to hear it. You have a track record of not keeping your quarterbacks healthy. Don't say it's bad luck. You don't have a great offensive line. That's partly on you. The season, the league is wide freaking open. You have the best defense in the league. Find a way. Comb the earth. Scour the earth for the best quarterback available and make sure you have him on your team because there's guys available like Colin Kaepernick. I'm just kidding. He's one. Cam Newton's another. Baker Mayfield's another. Matt Ryan could get released. I mean, he'd be kind of perfect considering he knows the system. He's been in the playoffs, yada, yada. Even though he's kind of washed. I don't know.
He's pretty bad right now.
He's pretty bad right now.
He's either fumbling or throwing an interception, one of the two. I
That's true.
It's hard to believe he was an MVP of the league at one point. He's bad. If I'm signing somebody off the couch, the best person to run Kyle Shanahan's offense, in my opinion, is Drew Brees. It's the short, quick passes, accuracy. He doesn't have to run. He can get those off quick. He can do what Jimmy does. Yeah.
Can't you just call him up and be like, hey, do you want to win a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
For 2 months of work.
Yeah. Yeah. Drew Brees is probably the only one that really gets me like, oh, let's do it. Other than that, I don't know, man. I might roll with Brock Purdy and see if Trey Lance can come back. I think, possibly Cam Newton, but I don't think that's a good matchup with Kyle Shanahan. I don't know. Colin he's been out of the league for a long time. And to me, what we've heard about his tryouts were not really good.
Yeah.
Although I was a big Colin fan back in the day, I think his time has passed as well. I like Fitz. I don't know. I'm leaning Drew Brees.
RG3?
RG3. Yeah, I think he's beyond his time has passed as well. Out of anybody, man, I'm going with Drew Brees.
He's like 34.
Yeah, but I mean, when did he retire? How old was he then?
Like 27. I don't know.
Right. So
yeah. Chris Sims.
Chris Sims. No. I'm gonna go Drew
Alex
Brees.
Smith.
Who?
Alex Smith.
Alex Smith. That would be a freaking story. That'd be better than
Alex
Brock
Smith.
Purdy, man.
Yeah.
I think
Pick him up. Ben Roethlisberger. No. Phillip Rivers.
No. He's a gunslinger and interception prone. I think Drew Brees is the best match, man. Hike him the ball, let him hand off, let him throw these 5-10-yard passes with accuracy. That's my.
What if he doesn't want to do it? What if he's done?
Well, then we got to roll with BP.
Brock it is.
Boy. Yeah.
Are we missing anyone that's out there? Peyton Manning? No, he's a little old. Eli,
no. Steve
no.
Young.
Steve Young. Jeff Garcia, I bet would do it. I bet he's already called the Niners.
Oh, he would definitely do it.
He's got a tape he's putting together right now, like Uncle Rico. I'm ready.
Him and T.O. together.
Shredded. Hell yeah. Those two are down.
Yeah.
Jeff Garcia, man. Tim Rattay.
I think it's Drew Brees or bust for me.
Jamarcus? He's still not that old. He never got a second chance. Oh, bless you. All right, so I mean, the Niners are. That's why I feel like you got to really seriously consider Baker Mayfield if he's there in waivers. Like, what is the? He's in his 20s. He was the number one pick. Who's the better option? Someone that's 47? I don't know.
It's not ideal, but it's the only option. You got to. If he's there, you try. If he's there, I don't think he's going to be there. I just have a feeling, but I could be wrong. Obviously.
Noah asks, is Brock Kirk Cousins 2.0? Did Kyle get forced to take Trey? The pick seemed out of character for Kyle. Didn't he say he wanted Mac? No. Whoa, this is revisionist history. He didn't say he wanted Mac. Maybe the pick was out of character for him. Although his dad drafted Jay Cutler, who was another strong-armed athlete that was supposed to throw the ball down the field. That's how they build Trey, is not a dual threat, but a quarterback who could move. I don't know. Is Brock Kirk Cousins 2.0? Who's the last pick in the draft? So if that's what he is, then great.
He doesn't have Kirk Cousins' arm, though.
I don't think so.
That's the one thing that he's definitely missing. I think I saw Jack Hammer tweeted out that he thinks Purdy has a better arm than Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't agree with that.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure about that.
Maybe similar, but better. I don't.
I mean, he might be better at like throwing down the field. Like Tua has nothing on his throws, but he can actually throw down the field as opposed to Jimmy. I don't know how Jimmy misses some of these downfield throws. It's like he's got anytime he has to change the trajectory and he can't just throw like a 15-yard pass on the line, he misses, which is strange. Maybe Purdy can actually hit those.
I haven't seen Purdy go deep yet. I haven't seen him go deep yet, but I did see him throw it really hard on a line short in some tight windows. Like to Debo, he threw some really good passes to Debo in small windows.
Are those slants?
With accuracy. So that was good. But deep, I don't know. I haven't seen that yet.
You think Purdy will finally unlock some creativity for Kyle Shanahan? Maybe.
Action.
Maybe. I think Kyle felt a little handcuffed by Jimmy, what he could and couldn't do, this was always a bad fit. Maybe 0-0 says nobody wants to hear it, but these BP is great and TL sucks takes are weird and giving racial undertone vibes.
100%.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors in why it's weird, but it's kind of weird. Ryan Niner 77 says Flavia admired dedication to Jimmy Garoppolo. Class act, played good enough to win with a stacked defense. As a fan, be supportive of whoever QB1 is. Trey will be fine if Kyle lets his ego take a back seat. Yes. Where's Tyrod Taylor at?
Isn't he a backup somewhere?
I think he's a backup somewhere. Yeah. Got to be employed. He's too good. Time to put Jimmy back at free safety. Huff's coverage is only really concerning. No, and Gibson's looking slow. The only team that can score on the D is the Chiefs. I didn't think Huff actually did anything wrong. That's what happens when you play quarters. He has to take that. He has to do what he did. And the whole thing about playing quarters is you better not get caught by a quarters beater because it's a touchdown. So
I think that was a brilliant play design. That first play, that was a brilliant play designed by Mike McDaniel, by the way. And I don't know. I think he did bite on the under, right? I got to remember how that played, but I did.
You have to.
Yeah, D'Amico was talking to him on the sideline afterward, though. So I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe D'Amico should disguise his coverages better. Because if they know you're in quarters and they have a quarters beater and they have Tyreek Hill running a post against a corner with outside leverage, it's over. It's over. There's nothing you can say.
How much of that was intentional that he drew that play up for the former 49er? I can't think of his name. Why can't I think of his name?
Trevarius. No.
The first one that scored the touchdown.
Oh, Trent Sherfield. Yeah.
How much of that was on purpose from Mike McDaniel that he drew it up?
I bet it was. That was his guy. McDaniel leaves, they don't bring him back, and they bring in Ray McLeod, who has done, not as much as Sherfield on offense this year. Yeah. Steve Young just cleared concussion protocol, says Eli.
That's good.
The spoiler jackhammer is Flave. No, I've seen Flave's face. I know he's got a beard. Allen says everyone was excited when Mullins beat Raiders in his first start. Once he put tape together, he was figured out Purdy will be the same. I'm afraid that could happen because, frankly, Mullins' debut was a whole lot better than Purdy's. Mullins eviscerated the Raiders.
That was my real initial thought and why I'm being cautious on Purdy. You see this often where like a quarterback will come in the middle of the game, do really well. You saw it with Jimmy Garoppolo this year, right? He came in for Trey Lance, did really well. Next game, Denver, and he was really bad. So I expect a learning curve for Brock Purdy. I don't expect him to come in and be perfect for the rest of the season.
But he does have the element of surprise. There's no book on him, so hopefully that'll help this year. Ray says, is it me or Kyle quarterbacks keep getting injured? No, it's not you. It's all of Kyle's quarterbacks. They all get injured fairly quickly. No, it's them. Yeah. It's him. HD says, why can't multiple things be true? Trey has the high ceiling. Brock can play at a serviceable way. Jimmy might have given the team the best chances here. Why we got to diss one to prop up the other? I like it, man. I like it.
I think that's pretty
I'm
good.
Not sure that Jimmy gave him the best chance this year, though. Let's see what Brock can do. and Trey, when he comes back, week 19. Drew Burr 89 says Breeze won't last 10 seconds with this O-line. They did give him a good O-line.
That's a good point. And
yeah,
is that Drew Brees commenting about Drew Brees? Thanks. Drew Brees came in.
Oh yeah, he was like, dude, I don't want to do that. Look at that. I don't know who Jake Brendel is. I don't know. Yeah. I've seen Michael Glitchy play football. I'm not stupid. Glass half full guy says, why would the Niners claim Mayfield? Could Kyle repair him? Because they're desperate. And what are your options here?
This is a good team. Baker Mayfield would look a lot better on this team than he would the Panthers.
You can't just throw up your hands and be like, well, if Brock's got it, great. If not, we'll get it next year. Like, this is a great opportunity to win a Super Bowl. You're not reliant on a quarterback. You have the best defense. You have a good running game. You're just trying to get a quarterback who's good enough. It might be someone. Yeah.
If the 49ers win a Super Bowl with Baker Mayfield, as a fan, I'd be happy we won a Super Bowl. But, gosh, that's an awful story.
Sean says, go get Jacoby Brissett. If it was before the trade deadline, that would make perfect sense, but it's not. Kilo says, to be honest, it looked like Purdy was operating the Shanahan system the way it's supposed to be. Done. Does Baker have to be QB1 if the Niners grab him? Could he just be the backup for Purdy and Trey? He would have to be the backup because he'd have to learn the offense. It would take him at least a month.
Yeah, I think Purdy has the opportunity now to take it all the way. And even if they do sign like a Baker Mayfield, that doesn't necessarily mean Baker Mayfield is the starter off the top. If Purdy's doing great, he might be able to keep that role. And I'm choking, sorry.
It's all right. Steve says Huff has to know that cheat is more dangerous. He has to do his job in cover 4. You can't freelance. And that's why I don't really like cover 4 that much. I mean, if you know it's coming, it's a house call. So you got to be, if you're going to call cover 4, you got to be really good at disguising coverages. Mm-hmm. Scotty says, if Rudy and Flutie had a kid, Purdy.
I like that one.
Sean says it doesn't change much. We've seen the Jimmy G show before. The rest of the league has too. Even with this defense, they weren't winning the Super Bowl with Jimmy. Playoff Ds, force them into errors. Purdy, not that different. Yeah, well, Trey Lance. Trey Lance may be coming back. Purdy just has to hold it down. Hold it down. Yeah. Steve says Purdy too much of a noodle arm. Need Lance ASAP. He's got the noodle factor. That's why I called him Brock Pasta in training camp. Ari says Purdy is more agile than Jimmy. Looked pretty accurate last game. A drop by CMC and Debo, both dimes. All we need is him to be good enough. True. Yeah. Absolutely. Agree. All right, next topic. This one's for Flave. Why Jimmy Garoppolo fans hate Trey Lance so much? I mean, Brock Purdy comes in, they give him a nice pat, and hey, look at Brock. He looks really nice. I hate Trey. He's a bust. And the sooner we get rid of him, the better. Why do Jimmy Garoppolo fans hate him so much?
I think there are several reasons that go into it. One, and this is, I really honestly believe this to be true. This is one of the reasons. There's several. One is people have an unhealthy obsession with Jimmy Garoppolo because he's a charismatic, good-looking dude. This is a weird reason to really like a quarterback, but you see it. I'm just being honest. People do have a real weird obsession, unhealthy obsession for Jimmy Garoppolo in some way, and they look at Trey Lance as a threat. He's the reason Jimmy's going to be gone, and they're not looking forward to it. Another reason I have is the history of Jimmy Garoppolo, just 49er fans, people that appreciate what Jimmy's done, took him to the NFC Championships, took him to a Super Bowl. There's a group of the fan base, particularly the younger dynamic demographic, that's all they've seen. That they've only seen the Super Bowls and the NFC Championship games with Jimmy Garoppolo. So there's that part of it too. Now, this is the most controversial thing, but I think there is racial bias, whether it's unconscious or not, that also comes into play here from a small segment. I'm not saying that's why everyone's like that, but there is a small segment of every fan base in this country that has that racial bias, and I see that come out.
Let's talk about it. Why do Jimmy Garoppolo fans love Jimmy Garoppolo so much? He's not a Pro Bowl quarterback. He's not a Hall of Fame quarterback. But I think what his fans like about him, they feel like he looks like a traditional quarterback. He stands in the pocket. He's got a quick release. He's accurate. He distributes the ball. He's got a good smile. He has a nice jawline. He looks like what a lot of people want a quarterback to look like. He operates the way, and so they believe. I think image is a big part of it, but it's also how he plays. And if you believe that that's the right way to play quarterback, then you're into him. And then you see Trey Lance come along. He's the exact opposite. He wants to extend the play. He runs the ball. He doesn't have a quick release. Accuracy is his biggest issue. So he's like on the other end of the spectrum of Jimmy Garoppolo. So if you're the kind of person that thinks Jimmy is the ideal type of quarterback, you're going to hate Trey. You're not going to hate Trey, but you're not going to like Trey. And then the fact that the Niners traded all that to bring in Trey, that shows that the team disagrees with Jimmy Garoppolo fans about Jimmy Garoppolo. The team has decided they can't win a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. Trey Lance is the walking embodiment of Jimmy Garoppolo's failure. And Jimmy Garoppolo fans hate it. So they spin it instead of it being, well, Trey's here and that shows that Jimmy can't win a Super Bowl. It's Trey sucks. No, Trey's the one who sucks. He's a bust after 4 starts. Get him off the field. Like, he never got a chance because he represented the failure of their savior. And these are people that call him Jimmy Jesus. You understand? So that's why they hate Trey Lance. He represents the failure of their savior. He was a false prophet.
I am struggling over here. My bad, man. Choking.
Sorry.
But yeah, no, I think one thing that 49er fans that are really heavy Jimmy fans, they kind of contradict themselves a little bit because a lot of them are very pro Kyle, pro organization. But Kyle and the organization, those are the guys that wanted to get rid of Jimmy. So, why are you mad at me for supporting who they chose to replace him? You should be mad at them. Be mad at Kyle Shanahan. Be mad at John Lynch for trying to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo as much as you are mad at me because I support Trey Lance.
I also think there's this undercurrent. This is a very subversive undercurrent in the fan base, but also in the locker room of Kyle doesn't know what he's doing. This organization, it's Jimmy and it's us vets that have been here for 5. We're the team. And it's Jimmy, it's Juszczyk, it's Kittle. It's these guys that sort of seem like they're on their own agenda. And it's, it's with Kyle sometimes, it's not with Kyle sometimes. I think that's a big problem. And for Trey Lance to ever really get a fair shake with this team, they're going to have to weed out players that don't want him to be the quarterback. And I just don't know where some of these vets stand on it. I think Kyle probably does, though.
Yeah, and that's, brings it up the question about Jimmy next year. Will he return? It's almost at some point, and also if Purdy does really well, that kind of takes away the argument of needing Jimmy as a backup. But if you bring Jimmy back, and man, you're just going to continue more of what we saw this year from the team and the fan base.
Dude, you need to take a minute. Are you all right? Here, take a minute. Take a minute. I'm gonna take some questions. You take a minute. 808 Niners says, I hope you're all right, though. I definitely have empathy for you right now, as you can see on my face. I'm really – he's gone. I hope he's okay. I think he just needed a minute. Sometimes, coughs, multiply. 808 Niners says, I should call him and make sure he's not choking, right? Damn. Is he dying? I think he's okay. Should we keep going? Now I have a conundrum. Ryan choked to death, and Grant made a joke about it. No, he's coming back. Here he is. You're okay.
I'm going to make it through, man. I'm getting over a cold, so I apologize to everybody. But right. I wanted to get off camera while I was choking.
Fair enough. 808 Niners says, I'm pretty sure it was cover 3 that Hill scored when Huff bit up, but it's not the first time he's been out of position and gave up a TD this year. Hey, maybe, man. I'll have to go back and watch the film. I thought it was cover 4. I thought that's how you attack cover 4, and that's what happens to safeties. Anyway, we'll see. Carlos Bond says, what about Ryan Fitzpatrick?
I think we talked about him. I think he's always been good, solid. I don't know.
We went to Harvard, right?
He did go to Harvard. There you go.
He went to Harvard, right? Oh, well, perfect.
Problem solved.
Hey, man, it seems to me like these quarterbacks who've been out of the league a few years, it's like, hey, do you want to win a Super Bowl? What do you want to do? I know you're retired, but look, 2 months of work. Can you do it? Are you better than Brock Purdy? Can you come and win a Super Bowl? Can you beat Trent Dilfer? Who wants to be Trent Dilfer and get a free ring? No one? I mean, there should be old vets who've been retired a year or two who are calling up the Niners being like, hey, can I show you? Can I come throw for you?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Can I speak on something that was I brought up? It's a very serious subject. I want to just be clear on it, if that's okay. Do you mind?
Go ahead.
When I said that there's a segment of Trey Lance haters that simply hate him because of unconscious racial bias, I'm not saying all of you guys. I'm not saying a lot of people, but I'm saying there are people that feel that way, and I've seen it. I can have evidence. If you really want to talk about it deeper, hit me on Twitter. I'll show you.
Well, I think the evidence to me is when people talk about Jimmy Garoppolo's appearance so much, and they don't talk about his pale skin, obviously. They talk about his smile and his jawline and his this and his. They like the way he looks, men. And it's not like a sexual thing. It's like, I want my quarterback to look a certain way and play a certain way. I want him to look like the idealized version of me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't look like Trey at all. And he doesn't play the way I was, I want a quarterback to play. It's kind of like that. I'm not saying people that make someone racist, but that's an unconscious bias, right? It's not the way I want my quarterback to look. He doesn't play the way he should play.
And they exist. And it's not playing the race card. I'm just speaking on, I brought up several reasons why, right? This is just one small percentage that feel that way. So I want you guys,
If people didn't talk about Jimmy's looks 85% of the time, I wouldn't feel this way. But it's always about his image. Always. Sorry. Yeah. Isaiah Gill says, feel like Grant called this event a long time ago. I'm not sure what I'm talking about, but
he did.
Yeah.
He's talking about Yeah, you did. Yeah.
808 says, not saying bench Huff, just put Jimmy back at free safety. I'm cool with that. Because I don't think he's necessarily – I think Womack's probably a better nickel. Young K, true. For me personally, the dissing on Trey is due to how much we gave up for a guy who hardly played in college, and he gives me Kaepernick vibes with the panic once the pocket collapses. Not good mentally.
What about him gives you Kaepernick vibes exactly? Because
dude, he's played 4 games.
I don't understand the Kaepernick vibes. What is that? Where does that come from?
It's the style of play. And look, I'm just saying, I understand being skeptical of Trey Lance, or liking Trey Lance, but doesn't he deserve a chance? Justin Fields got a chance. Every quarterback gets a chance. Brock Purdy's getting a chance. Why does Trey Lance not get a chance? Because he doesn't play the game the right way? Because he doesn't look the right way? What is going on? It's so weird. I mean, he's had as much success in his first 4 starts as any young quarterback you could point to. I mean, what he is in year 3 has nothing to do with what he's going to be year 1. So what's the deal? Why can't he get a freaking chance?
Yeah, I don't understand where the hate for Trey Lance is coming from. It doesn't make a lot of sense. He's never done anything, in my opinion, on or off the field to deserve like this kind of hate that people have for Trey Lance. He definitely needs experience, which is the thing that he lacks more than anybody else. He has the highest ceiling of any quarterback that's been on the 49ers for a very long time, but what he lacks is experience. So 49ers, at some point, if the coaches decide to play him, they're going to have to let him learn on the job.
Because look at how much Jalen Hurts improved from year 1 to year 3. Look at how much Justin Fields improved from year 1 to year 2. Jet Marquis says, do you think we missed on Justin Fields? Too early to say. We're going to have to see what Fields look like next year and what Lance looks like in year 3 or year 4. But I do feel like Justin Fields is on his way to being really good. I mean, he's not winning, but he's doing some amazing things with no supporting cast. You give him an A.J. Brown or someone like what the Eagles did with Justin Fields last year, all of a sudden, with Jalen Hurts this year, all of a sudden Justin Fields could be an MVP candidate next year. And that's why the Niners got Lance, and that's why they have to commit to the process of developing him. Because, look, Brock Purdy's cool. He's never going to be an MVP candidate unless I'm tripping. And neither is Jimmy. But Trey could if you gave him a chance, I think.
Yeah.
It would be really bad if he went somewhere else and did it.
Yeah, he has all the. I just don't understand what like a kid, a guy like Trey Lance with all the potential in the world. Why would you not want to see what that can develop into? I think we could all agree that his potential is there, right? It's just an experience that he needs, and the only way to get that is by playing. I don't understand that why people don't hate the guy. It doesn't make sense.
Because a lot of people love Jimmy.
Yeah.
Daryl says they don't like the fact a young BM takes a white man's job. They really do not like it. That's all it is.
For some people, it is.
See, but here's the thing. He says that's all it is. To me, it's like there's a lot of things, but that's one of them. That's one of them. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to list 20 things, that'd be on the list. I think a lot of people are like, hold on. This dude did what exactly? What did he do to take Jimmy's job? Jimmy's gave blood, sweat. No, hold on. I'm not going to trivialize either point. But from one people's perspective, you're like, hold on. Jimmy's won. Jimmy's done his job. This guy's unproven. And you're just going to give him Jimmy's job. It's not fair.
There's a lot of different reasons. This is just one of the many. Yep.
Jimmy G is the Niners version of Trump to his fans. Yeah, but I know Jimmy. He's a nice guy. That's the whole thing that sucks. Is I've said so many snarky things about Jimmy, and then I look him in the eye. I'm like, oh, you're a nice guy. You don't deserve that. It's your freaking fans, and you're not even in control of them. You're not on social media. You don't do this stuff. So I do feel bad when I actually look him in the eye. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, people accuse me of hating Jimmy Garoppolo, and that's couldn't be further from the truth. And I just did a video about it. I think Jimmy's a really good dude. It's the over-the-top obsession. If you're anything but 100%, complete adoration for Jimmy Garoppolo, if you're anything short of that, then you hate Jimmy Garoppolo. And it's just that's the part that's really frustrating for me. In this,
I'm cool with people calling me a Jimmy Garoppolo hater, but I just don't think it bothers me when these Jimmy Garoppolo fans then just not just hate on Trey, but they're like, so he's the biggest bust of all time, and can we finally admit that it's like, whoa, dude, come on, it's wrong. Glass half full guy says I'm a Jimmy G fan, but it became clear to me we needed a more dynamic quarterback. Jimmy was limited, and I'm more open to giving Trey a full season to see what he can do. Yeah. That's the glass. That's why they call you the glass half full guy. Ray-Bans with 2 Z's says, Grant, I will say you called it saying this team reminds you of the 72 Dolphins. Trey could come back and win it all. See, I was born in 1970. You didn't know that. And so this team really does remind me. I lived through it. No, it felt like, I don't know why I picked that team out. But.
Well, because their quarterback suffered a similar injury.
Yeah, I said it before the season. I wasn't anticipating.
Oh, that's weird. So
I did. It was. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I thought the Niners were going to go undefeated and lead the league in rushing. I don't know. I don't know.
I remember.
But Is that vodka you're drinking in your teacup?
I probably should be. Probably should be.
That probably would cure the coughing.
Yeah.
Legendary answer says, haven't seen men love a man this much since Prince. I love Prince. Prince is great. Who doesn't like Prince? David Velez says, people who like Jimmy and not Trey Lance are not teachers. They only see what's right in front of their face. They can't imagine potential. Flave probably couldn't teach a baby to crap his... Whew. Poor Flave. That's another thing. Yeah, I mean, people that believe in potential and improving and people who are like, no, it's never going to happen. Let's stick with the guy who's good but not good enough. That's Jimmy Garoppolo's time with the Niners. Good but not good enough. The Jimmy Garoppolo story. He was good, but not good enough.
Something we should bring up is I've seen, and I can pull them up. You guys hit me up on Twitter if you don't believe what I'm saying, but I've seen people say wherever Jimmy goes, I go. So there are people that are just obsessed with Jimmy Garoppolo, right? It's not, they're not even
only athletes that have fans like that are like Cristiano Ronaldo and LeBron and Jimmy Garoppolo. Tom Brady. People look at him like he's Tom Brady Jr., but he's not. Steve M says Lance is not a run-first quarterback. No similarity to Cap. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, Cap was a much better runner than Trey. Mm-hmm. HD says this discourse does more disservice to Jimmy. It ain't his fault. Some of his fans might be trash. He himself has been A+ in how he handled every situation. Here. Agree. Mm-hmm. Cheers to Jimmy Garoppolo. Thank you for the $2. Bus 301. Raul, I operated differently with Purdy. You could tell Kyle was able to expand the playbook. PA, bootlegs, rollouts, essential with Kyle's Purdy, Arby's. Is Arby's Jimmy Garoppolo like official nickname now? That's mean, but yeah.
Purdy's more like Carl's Jr.
Did you see that SNL skit about Arby's from a few weeks ago? It's really funny.
I missed it.
About like, I'm not going to do the joke.
I fell asleep watching Saturday Night Live on Saturday, so that's how old I am.
Bigger issue is Mike McGlinchey. He's awful. Yeah, man. His guy broke. Yep.
I'm going to tell you right DP. Now, Mike McGlinchey's coming back next year. Whether you guys want it or not, he's coming back. I
think you're probably right.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right. Because the Niners always say they like him. No one else is going to like him. He's going to be cheap. They're still going to like him.
He's coming back.
He's coming back. Boast for D Player of the Year. Why not? I think he's also should be in the MVP conversation. This is one of the best teams in the league. It's led by their defense. He's their best player. Like, it doesn't have to go to an offensive player every year, especially defense. Offense is down this year. To me, what defines 2022 NFL football is offense is being really underperforming and defense is having the advantage. Even though all the rules freaking help offense. I think that's the ultimate irony of this season.
Yes.
Why hate on Trey? He's the one who hate the ones who brought him here.
Right. Go at Kyle Shanahan. Don't be mad at me. Be mad at Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch.
Yeah, but you know how the mental gymnastics. Well, Kyle didn't really want him. Kyle, it was so uncharacteristic. I think Kyle was forced. You know, all that stuff here. It's like QAnon stuff. You're just going into like deep conspiracy theory stuff here.
Yeah.
Donnie Willis says we're better with Brock. He has better QBR than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, I'm open-minded. It's one game. That's the only thing I think you guys like. I'm not going to knock Jimmy either, man. Like, Jim, we know what Jimmy is, and we know his limitations. But to say Brock Purdy's better than Jimmy already after one game, I think that's premature.
You guys need to stop slowing down this show by giving me all this money. We're trying to go through it. Stop giving me money. Isaiah Gill says, what's Jimmy Garoppolo market going to look like next season? That's one of our topics. Hold on. Faithful Jinx says, I think a lot of people are out on Lance too because of patience. People don't want to sit and watch someone develop when his ceiling is not certain. Well, then I guess you're pretty much condemned to good, not good enough football unless you're willing to take that leap of faith like Philly did. Bus says, excited for Trey, but think the Niners made a mistake drafting the project when they're ready to win now. Why not have traded for a quarterback who can win now? Yeah, that is fair. They probably should have signed Tom Brady 3 years ago. That would have. It still feels like they're haunted from not drafting Mahomes and not signing Brady. Like, those were two layups. They whiffed both, and they're still trying to scramble for the offensive rebound. It's like, nah, man, you already smoked two layups, dog. You had like a windmill dunk and clanged it off the back iron, and it went. Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's where you're at. Sorry. We're going to take a brief break from comments to get back to our show. We'll get all of them, though. Let's talk about Brock Purdy's future. Do you think he's going to – you think he's the chosen one, as some people say? You think he's going to win the Super Bowl this year? Do you think he's going to be their starting quarterback next year? Is he their long-term backup? Read the tea leaves for Brock Purdy.
I mean, that all depends on what he's able to do for the rest of this season, I think. I think he has a great opportunity to show what he's made of, what he's capable of, whether he's going to be the backup for Trey Lance next year. Or, man, if the guy goes play balls out and wins the Super Bowl, he might be your starter for next year. Who knows? It's really up to him this point. And I think how he plays is also going to affect whether the 49ers decide to consider bringing Jimmy back. If Brock Purdy shows that he's as good as Jimmy Garoppolo, then why bring back Jimmy Garoppolo when Brock Purdy's able to do it for much cheaper? So it's really the ball's in Brock Purdy's court. Who knows what he's able to do? Hell, he can ball out well enough to where someone wants to trade for. I mean, there's so many different possibilities for Brock Purdy, and hopefully he takes advantage of his opportunity.
Just from his debut, it's looking like he could be the Niners' long-term backup and a guy who, given the Niners' track record of keeping their quarterbacks healthy, could play a fair amount. I mean, it looks like he fits the offense. It looks like the team responds to him. It looks like Kyle likes him. I'm not sure that he's looking at Purdy as the franchise quarterback, but he could always win that job eventually. And yeah, he's limited physically, but I think he's got more to offer physically than Mullins or Beathard or Hoyer or any other backup not named Trey Lance that Jimmy Garoppolo's had. I mean, if you just compare Purdy's skill set to Garoppolo's, I mean, neither one has a strong arm. But Purdy's a better athlete than Jimmy Garoppolo. You couldn't say that about Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins is not a better athlete than Jimmy Garoppolo, and neither is CJ. I think Purdy's a better athlete than Jimmy. So if the Niners have convinced themselves that they could be Super Bowl contenders with that limited statue, then why can't they talk themselves into being contenders with someone who's slightly more, I mean, a better athlete, straight up?
And cheaper.
I don't know. And cheaper. Yeah.
I think that's the thing. But, people need to keep in mind, I mean, it doesn't mean it can't happen, but there's never been a rookie to win a Super Bowl. Has there ever been a rookie to go to the Super Bowl as a quarterback? I don't know. The jury's still out for me on Brock Purdy. I thought he played great yesterday. I saw moments in the preseason where he played great. At training camp, he had times where he looked great. But I'm not ready to crown him anything after one game. In Tampa Bay and Washington, even Seattle, those are going to be tough games for him. So he's kind of being thrown into the fire right now, and we'll know a lot more about Brock Purdy after these next 2 or 3 games than we do right now.
I just want to point something out. The Niners could have signed Brock Purdy as an undrafted free agent. He was literally the last pick in the draft. So no one else was going to pick him. They made a point to take him with a draft pick instead of signing him as an undrafted free agent. He probably would have been cheaper as an undrafted free agent. But as a draft pick, 4-year contract. 4-year contract. As I think undrafted free agents, maybe 2 or 3. So he's not going anywhere. That's the whole point. They wanted him for not the long term, but 4 years. He is going to be, I mean, and unless he falls on his face the next few weeks and shows that which he could. Didn't look like he's going to based on the last game, but he could. If he continues to play like he did in the last game, he's going to be here. He's going to be the long-term backup. And that might finally give them the courage to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo. But we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Swan Song says many Niner fans aren't Lombardi or bust, Trey risky. I think they should be Lombardi or bust. Stop giving yourself outs.
They're not Lombardi or bust. Yeah, you're right. They're not, Swan. I am, but I know a lot aren't. Yeah.
Brock Bonte says, Grant, I love your content. Huge Brock fan, no bias. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Look, if there was a quarterback named Grant, I would love that guy. Root for him all the time. Flave, Trey had multiple chances. Purdy only needed 1. Bottom line, how many opportunities does the number 3 pick need to compete over 60% of his passes? So hold on. You evaluate quarterbacks based on their first, second, third, fourth start? Flave, that's disingenuous. What did you think of Josh Allen in his first 4 starts? Or Jalen Hurts? Come on, Flave. Do better. Gregory Young. Grant, it has always been about Kyle. He's scapegoated Jimmy Garoppolo, and the Jimmy stands rush to his defense and hate that the organization for blaming him. Trey Lance just takes the blame because they don't want to blame Kyle Shanahan. always been about Kyle. Scapegoat to Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, he did scapegoat Jimmy Garoppolo. Those two point fingers at each other implicitly forever. But what about Jimmy's responsibility and Jimmy's demise? I mean, is it Kyle Shanahan's fault that Jimmy Garoppolo overthrew Emmanuel Sanders in the Super Bowl? Was that Kyle's fault? Now, could Kyle have had his back afterward? Yes, of course. But could Jimmy have hit the throw? I mean, if he were better, if he were good enough.
I will say my only slight pushback on that is, and maybe it's Jimmy. It's hard to tell, but you can't really ask Jimmy to throw a deep bomb in the Super Bowl to win the thing if you're not having him do it throughout the season. And so maybe that part is a little bit off.
It's true. Vincent says we are not rebuilding. The window is open right now. I'm not ready to gamble on Trey yet, and I don't understand why you all think his ceiling is so high. What are you basing that on? I don't know, man. The same thing the Niners based it on.
Yeah, my ceiling. I'm basing it on
his skill set,
his size, his speed, his arm strength, his intelligence, his leadership, just to name a few.
Yeah. His technique, making it rain. He need to stop that. There's a little bit of a concern that he was a small town kid that came out to the big city and was a little, you're CEO of a franchise now, basically. No more partying. And if you do go to a party, there are waivers. Everyone has to put phones in a bucket. What are you doing? Right. Don't get caught. Young Jeezy taught me that when I was in high school. There's one rule in life. Don't get caught.
Yeah.
You got caught. What are you, from North Dakota or something? Oh, yeah, you're from North Dakota. Okay. Well, no, he's from Minnesota. It's different out here, baby.
And why people judging him for that is hilarious. But you still like Jimmy. He's dating porn stars. I mean, Trey Lance is a 22-year-old kid. I mean,
hard lessons. Yeah. But, dude, Brock Purdy could take your job tomorrow. You better dot your T's or whatever. No, cross your T's. Daryl Smock says, sorry, Grant, it's wrong, but very true. Look at how much Flav disliked Trey. Perfect example. I don't know. It just seems over the top. If Trey's a bust, he'll prove it. You don't have to constantly say, I don't want him to start a fifth game. We need to stop right now. Mm-hmm. Robert says QB potential Trey, Super Bowl. Jimmy, NFC championship. Purdy, one playoff win. Jimmy and Purdy are good, but not going to ever be great. It seems like in the playoffs, you do it mostly comes down to quarterback play, at least the last 15 years, at least the last 15 years, ever since the Ravens or whatever.
Yeah.
Donnie Willis says, even when Joe Flacco won the Super Bowl, he palled out. He was the best quarterback on the field in every game he played in that stretch.
And I think it's important. I point it out every now and then. The last three Super Bowl champions had their quarterbacks have 40 touchdown passes. They averaged over 310 yards per game. No, more than that. Like almost a lot. I think it was like 370 yards per game. So they have high-powered passing offenses. That's one thing that's making me hesitate. I've been hesitant on the 49ers all year because of that passing game.
Donnie Willis is glad that Jimmy Cloud is out of SF. Bye. You sure? Weary Nut says, why can't we let BP cook? He's a 4-year college starter. He has that ball experience, which can't be taught. Oh, he's going to get every opportunity to cook. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, dessert. It's his kitchen until he burns it down. So we'll see what happens. Young K. True says, if you go back and watch film, both him and Cap, when the pocket breaks down, want to run immediately. I like Trey and hope he turns out. Man, there's like 4 clips of Trey. He hasn't played. He has no tendencies.
I've seen Trey Lance in those situations keep his head up and look to pass, whereas Colin Kaepernick tucks and runs in those situations a lot faster than I saw with Trey Lance. So I disagree. I didn't see that with Trey Lance.
G-Code Travels Vlog POV says only one Arby's in the Bay Area located in Sunnyvale and the other one in Santa Clara.
I got one right down the block. I could walk there right now.
Yeah, Oakland's got like Boston markets and stuff, which is kind of like the Arby's with
cornbread. Good cornbread markets.
Yeah, worse commercials. Jose says, what are your thoughts on Cap for quarterback? At least 1-year deal. I think it's a better option than Baker.
I
don't think it's going to happen.
But yeah, I like Cap. But man, how long has it been? 5 years?
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen. Blake says, race and Jimmy aside, the sample size we have from him is rough if we're being honest, and he kind of did snap his ankle from a standard issue. I don't think it's rough. I think it's pretty standard his first 4 games. Were they worse than Justin Fields' first 4 games? No.
No.
Is Huff a liability against the deep? They're better. Is Huff a liability against the deep ball? I don't think so. But I'll have to go back and watch that one clip. I thought he was reacting how you're coached to react in cover 4, and that's the weakness of cover 4. But I
think Huff is best when everything's in front of him. So I think that might be his biggest weakness. Not that he's going to be bad at it, but he's really good with everything. When Let
me explain quarters. If you run 4 verticals against quarters, think about it. 4 deep, 4 verticals. Real soon that becomes man-to-man.
Yeah.
Everyone picks up their guy one-on-one. So if you run a guy at the safety really aggressively and then stop it and break it off, he has to react to that.
Yeah.
At a certain point, he has to pick that guy up man-to-man or else he runs right by him. And that's what you're trying to take advantage of with quarters beaters. If you know quarters is coming, it's a touchdown. It can be effective, but you got to mix it up and disguise it. So the Dolphins had a great call. Yeah,
I like Huff, and I'm not blaming just that play on him in general. I just mean when his back's turned, that's where I've seen him. Huff's great, man. Like I was one of the main guys that called him out last year when everyone was down on him. I said he's amazing, but if he has any weakness, it's when his back's turned and he's running downfield. When the play's in front of him, he's amazing.
Yep. I have PTSD from our fan base making Nick Mullins our savior when he torched the Raiders. After that, he was not good. Let's slow down. It's just one game. Yeah, next week is going to be a much bigger test. That's going to be a good defense. Tampa bring it in with some good defense alignment. Trey Murphy says, cowards take Niners won't win Super Bowl. If you're a Jimmy Garoppolo super fan, you have to go this route. Because how do you look saying Jimmy Garoppolo and Purdy ready, but not Trey? Bias. Yeah. So Coward already said it's over for the Niners because they have gone, because you could see the offense just fell apart without Jimmy Garoppolo yesterday. Kid's got a chin and doesn't see ghosts. Glock Purdy.
Glock Purdy. I love that name.
I like that too. Adam Paul says there's an 80% chance that the people who hate Trey Lance and love Jimmy Garoppolo are MILFs. Unfortunately, that's not really the case. Reg82 says Baker Mayfield is available now. I bet money the front office is running the numbers as we speak. Yeah, it's just that he has to go through waivers, and the Niners are 25th in the priority.
You know who's in front of him? Seattle.
Yeah, and the Rams. G-Code says Greenlaw's 4th down play was the X factor win. Dolphins converted 4th. A chance Dolphins might score the winning TD. Where's the love for Dre? You're no doubt. I think earlier we said he's one of the best linebackers in the league. He's really good.
Yeah.
He's like a mini Patrick Willis.
Mm-hmm.
Jet Marquis says, who do you think is the perfect quarterback for our team out of anyone in the league? Patrick Mahomes. Best quarterback I've ever seen.
By far.
Patrick Mahomes. Yes. Darnay Harvey says, Flave getting talking points from Chris Sims interviews. I like Chris Sims. Flave says, LOL, my fiance is black. What
does that mean? What does that mean, Flave?
Oh, Flave, dude, what are you doing? Sometimes people bring race into things when they aren't smart enough to think of a rebuttal. Trey isn't good. Trey just isn't good. If he was, Jimmy wouldn't have been here this year. Sorry.
Didn't you just
Trey just isn't good
to justify your point? So are you not smart enough to think of a rebuttal?
Trey just isn't good. Hey, man. I love the Jimmy Garoppolo fans. They're just really good quarterback scouts. They can project the future. They've seen enough. 4 starts, that's it. That's all we need to see. It's it. You're done.
I can't, man.
But really, it's only because Trey's blocking Jimmy. That's the only reason they want Trey to be done after 4 starts. They've seen enough.
I pull for Trey more than anything. The reason why I pull for Trey is because of all the unjustified hate that he gets, and I just want to see him prove all you guys wrong. That's really why I pull for Trey more than anything. Yeah. Most quarterbacks go to teams that with fan bases that like them and want them to succeed. Mr. Moreno says, can you give a shout out to Christian? He's your number 1 fan. Hey, shout out Christian, my number 1 fan. Thank you, Christian. Seabass Johnson said, I like Lance's potential, but I don't like his inability to throw spirals. Can't get past that. Okay. Okay. That's funny. Can't get past it. He's seen enough. That's enough. Eddie Marco says both Purdy and Lance don't have enough games to value him, so let's agree we roll with who's in the field, beat the Bucks. Man, just keep him healthy. All right, we got 2 more topics. Do you think hold on. That was like a notification for the topic right there.
Yeah, there you go. Will Jimmy Garoppolo return in 2023? Real quick, Ian Rappaport said the Niners and him were open to a multi-year lucrative extension, which seemed like a nightmare scenario. Him getting like $100 million in a 3-year deal. Now you can forget about that. If he were to return, it would probably be on an even cheaper deal than the one he had this year. Probably another 1-year deal with incentives that pays him like nothing if he's a backup and something if he starts. Do you think they'll go that. Not should they. I know what you're going to say, whether they should or not, because I feel the same way. Do you think they will? This is a team that seems addicted to Jimmy Garoppolo at times. At times, for the last half a decade.
I think it depends on what Brock Purdy does. I think that's the biggest deciding factor here. If Brock Purdy shows that he's a capable, as good as Jimmy Garoppolo for that price, I think they just roll with Trey and Purdy next year. If Purdy shows that he's not as good as he looked yesterday, then maybe they do explore bringing Jimmy back. I don't know. I think if I had to say whether they're going to do it or not, I think it just depends on what happens with Brock Purdy, honestly. It wouldn't surprise me if they do. I don't think they should, be honest with you. I think it's time to move on. We've gone through the Jimmy story. And if Brock Purdy ends up playing like he did yesterday for the rest of the season, there's really no reason to bring back Jimmy.
I could just see it going down like this where, once again, there's no market for Jimmy because he's hurt and he's coming off a surgery. He's going to have another surgery. He's coming off a surgery, and we don't know if he's going to be ready for this. I just feel like other teams are going to look at him and be like, why am I going to – let's just draft a guy. Or I don't think there's going to be a market for him. And so the Niners are going to be looking around, and he's going to be hanging out, and they're going to be staring at each other at the end of the night at the bar at 2 a.m. They're going to be like, you want to come over? Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't trust him. The Niners are like that. Your friend, they'd be like, man, I'm dumping her. And you're like, no, you're not. I know this night's going to end. Yeah. So I don't know. Because look, they didn't have the guts to go all in with Trey this year. So why would they have the guts next year? Why? What's changed? Oh, now he missed another season.
Only if Brock Purdy could be what changes. He could show them that, hey, I'm just as good as this Jimmy guy, and I'm much cheaper.
That's a good point.
And so to me, that's what.
Or they could sign someone else next year instead of Jimmy, someone better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I'll bring up a name in a bit, but yeah. So hey, Brock, it's on you, man. All of us are looking at you to end this Jimmy Garoppolo chapter. It's been great. It was good, but not good enough. So we're looking forward to the next chapter of 49ers football because this one was like really long. It lasted forever, and it was repetitive. So, hey, don't close the book on Jimmy Garoppolo coming back because he's just so handsome. Anyway,
it wouldn't surprise me if we see that guy again.
That smile? Are you kidding? Can't quit that smile. All right. Will the 49ers sign Tom Brady next year? He'll be a free agent, and I can't help but think that he's over there in Tampa playing really mediocre football. Well, he's not bad, but playing with a really mediocre team, thinking, man, I could have not gotten divorced. I could have just stayed retired and stayed with my wife and family and then just walked onto the Niners now. But no, I'm over here in Tampa alone playing mediocre football. Like, he really messed up. But he could come here next year and play for his hometown team. And, I mean, it's not like Jimmy's going to hold him out of the spot. And Trey Lance hasn't played in 3 years. What do you think, man? Tom Brady, 2023, 47. How old is he going to be? Tom Brady, 2023?
46, I think.
46?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, man. That's so tough for me because Tom Brady is the GOAT, the greatest of all time. But damn, he's 46. He's not playing that great now. It's hard for me to really have a strong opinion of that. You don't want to turn Tom Brady away twice, but I'm kind of over it, man, to be honest. Like, I just kind of want to see Trey develop and see what his potential is. But Tom Brady's the GOAT, man. And with this team, there's a definite strong argument that, if he's the same guy, that he could win. But damn, 46 years old, that's crazy. Like, I'm 43. I can't imagine playing any professional sport at this age.
Yeah.
That's just crazy.
But let's be honest, though. I mean, they said no to him once. It was one of the worst decisions in franchise history, frankly. It cost him a Super Bowl.
At that time, I agree.
Yeah. And I know maybe they missed it. Maybe it's too late.
Yeah.
But if he comes home a second time, I just don't think the Niners have the guts to tell him no twice. And it'd be one thing if Jimmy Garoppolo stayed healthy all year and went to the Super Bowl and won it, but that didn't happen. And so that's not going to keep him out of Santa Clara. I don't know. I feel like if he wants to be here, how do you make the argument? No, we're good. We got Trey. Yeah, but you didn't feel that confident in Trey last year. That doesn't seem. I feel that way, but I don't think you do. Oh, that's cool. We got Brock Purdy. Sure. Okay. Well, let's see Brock Purdy and Tom Brady on the same field this weekend. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean that maybe that's telling too. I mean, it depends on Brock Purdy a little bit, but as far as Tom Brady's concerned, it depends on what he does this season. How does he look? How does he finish the season?
Yeah.
He makes a strong comeback, looks like the same Tom Brady. Then, man, it's hard to say no. I mean, the greatest of all time wants to come play for you. You said no to him once. Then he went on to win a Super Bowl. To do it again, that's tough, man. It's really hard to say no to Tom Brady. It's like if Michael Jordan wanted to come play and play basketball for your team after retiring from the Bulls. You know, you got to say yes.
And what sucks about Trey Lance is no matter how you slice it with him, he's a project who hasn't played in 3 years. And so he'd be better off on a team with no expectations and a first-year head coach. And this team has been in a Super Bowl window for years. And they keep extending it, and they keep saying it can, they keep extending it. But they really would be better off with someone better than Jimmy Garoppolo right now. And I think that's Tom Brady. And if they could find someone else that's better than Tom Brady, by all freaking means. But you could probably argue that Tom Brady would be the Niners' best option just for 2023. And the way they've constructed their roster, they're not really in a position to be thinking beyond that because they have no draft picks. I don't know. It's tough.
It's tough, but ultimately, like, if I'm the GM, Tom Brady comes to me, I want to play for the 49ers this year. I want to win a Super Bowl. It's my last year. How do you say no?
How do you say no? Especially if he's like, you don't even need to pay me that much. I will work it out. I want to win a Super Bowl here. Okay, like you just say yes. And if Trey Lance doesn't like it, and you tell him you got to sit one more year on the bench, and he says, "Get me out of here. I don't want to be in the same quarterback room with Tom Brady for a year." You know what? All right, man. That's all. Okay.
For one, I don't think you could say that, and for two, that's the other thing is that I don't think Trey Lance is that guy to say that. But for two, that could be really good for him to work with Tom Brady for a year as well. So that could be another justification for it, actually.
I never felt like it's justified sitting Trey Lance behind Jimmy. It's not even a Pro Bowl quarterback. You sit behind Tom Brady, that's a whole different thing. It could be the best thing that ever happened to you. Mm-hmm. What are you going to learn from Jimmy? Sorry.
Yeah.
You could learn a lot from Tom Brady. I mean, I don't think Jimmy did, but maybe Brissett did.
Hey, Jimmy might have, man. He might be better. He might be who he is today because of some of the stuff he learned from Tom Brady. It could be worse if he didn't have Tom Brady. I mean, I think any quarterback should be able to learn something from Tom Brady, if they're open to it. I
would hope so. I mean, I would want to work with Tom Brady. That would be interesting. But my real question is, does Kyle want to work with Tom Brady? I don't wonder about Trey. That would probably be a dream come true. About Kyle?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, but he learned.
Swallow your pride, Kyle.
Yeah, he's going to have to because he learned his lesson the hard way last time he said no to Tom Brady, and they won a Super Bowl afterwards. So does he really want to say that twice? And then Tom Brady goes to Seattle or some Vegas and does great or something. Who knows?
Seabass Johnson says can get past it. I said I like his potential. He needs to get that spiral tight. Yeah, he's got to do a lot of things with his delivery, but Jalen Hurts did those things. Remember that thing I was talking about with his locked front leg? Hurts had the same problem, and he fixed it. It's fixable.
Josh Allen fixed it. A lot of guys have fixed it. Yeah. And then there's guys like Peyton Manning who had didn't have a good spiral in their entire career and is a Hall of Famer. So
Eli says Lance deserves a better fan base and head coach. Yeah. Maybe
I think there's some good fans out here that like and support Trey Lance, but I think there's some bad apples too.
Damon Rice says, "Damn, Grant, you 56 years old, Ben Button. You didn't know that?" Yeah, man. Yeah. You didn't know that? Daryl Smock says, "We don't need Jimmy Garoppolo and we don't need old TB12. Also, wherever Jimmy Garoppolo goes, Flav goes, bye-bye, don't cry."
Is that true, Flav? Could you tap in and tell us are you leaving the 49ers if Jimmy goes somewhere else?
YouTube user says, "Grant, love the channel. Your shows are the topic of many conversations at the Flying Fox Gastropub in American Samoa. Keep holding the team accountable, Mr. QC."
Shout out to the Samoans. My wife's half Samoan. My kids are part Samoan. Shout out to Samoans. My mother-in-law's from American Samoa.
My wife's from Fiji, which is close by. So
Yeah.
Shout out. Absolutely. Allen. Banana Hand Ego couldn't cope with TB12 stepping in, taking charge, and calling out his errors. Yeah, that's why he didn't come here in 2020. I agree. So that's on Kyle. It's on Kyle. He would have to really swallow his ego. Baker released I hate it, but better than Johnson. I don't think he's going to make it to the Niners in waivers. If he does, I think they'll pick him up. Yeah. Off topic, when do you predict Niners rebuild?
That's tough. A lot of factors in there. End of Trey's rookie contract.
There's going to come a point where they're paying Eric Armstead and Trent Williams a lot of money. And how much are they going to be on the field? You know, the Niners are going to be starting giving a lot of money to like 7 or 8 players who are getting older. And once a couple guys become injury prone and aren't on the field, that's when things fall apart and you're the Rams. When you have so much wealth and talent concentrated in 8 vets, that's when it falls apart. If some guys get hurt, because all of a sudden you don't have the depth anymore. So I don't know. That would be it. But
what about when Ayuk's up for contract, Trent Williams retires, Trey Lance needs a second contract? That's going to be a tricky time. You know?
Flave says, according to McCaffrey, Purdy, and Trey, the backups have learned a lot from Jimmy. According to everyone, Brady is a douche to the backup. According to everyone. So actually, what he's saying, implying, is that Jimmy Garoppolo, you learn more being around Jimmy Garoppolo than Tom Brady. Flav, dude, man, come on. Like, do you type this with a straight face? Kyle sprint right A gap, Tom null pass. No. Will Kyle ever have an all-pro quarterback? Does he need one? On this team? I don't know. Does he need one? It kind of helps. What did you say about the last few Super Bowl winners? 40 touchdowns? Yeah.
40 touchdowns at least.
Yeah.
During the season.
Trey Purdy, RG3 Cousins. No, they're Trey Purdy. That's the difference. Flave, I've been a fan longer than most of these kids in here. I'm Niners first. It would be hard to watch if 10-point Trey is out there, though. Oh. All right, man. Thanks. Enjoy it. That's your team. Eddie Marco says, what's up with the Raider fans thinking they can beat us? They've won 3 in a row. Raider fans are precious.
They've underperformed, honestly. I think they've underperformed this year. So now they're kind of playing at where they should be at, I think. I think they're probably always going to be underrated by 49er fans, but don't sleep on any team for the rest of the season. You know, you really never know.
Marcelo says fake Niner fans got what they wanted. Beware. The fake ones got what they wanted. Jet Marquis says, what 2 teams do you honestly see in the Super Bowl? Right now, if I had to guess, I would probably say Philly and Kansas City. Although Kansas City lost yesterday. So, I don't know.
I'm leaning Chiefs on the AFC side.
Dude, Cincinnati's coming around. They're coming around.
Yeah. I don't know. I just Patrick Mahomes is like Steph Curry of the NFL to me. I really think KC, I never can count those guys out. And on the NFC side, I don't know. It's going to be tough. I don't know. Let's see how Brock Purdy does over the next 2-3 weeks.
The show is over. It's 90 minutes in. Flav, stop giving me money. I appreciate you. Who is the best quarterback that has been Brady's backup? Jacoby Brissett. What makes you think Brady helps his backups? LOL. Yeah, man. I think what Flav is saying is that Jimmy Garoppolo is a huge disappointment and it's Brady's fault. But he's acknowledging that Jimmy Garoppolo is just not a good player. And it's maybe if Tom Brady took him under his wing, Jimmy would be what Flav wants him to be. Good call, Flav. I'm with you. Timothy Kime says the only thing Jimmy might have taught Trey and Purdy is how to throw picks to linebackers and how to smile at press conferences and not take accountability. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching a 90-minute show. Hella people in here donated hella money and just watched, which was great. Ryan, thank you.
My pleasure.
I'm back at 4 o'clock with Larry Krueger. Kyle talks on his conference call at 3:30. We'll hear about injuries and such. See you later.